Just waiting on him to finish.
Okay, first of all, is everyone okay? We're far enough apart. Is everyone okay with me having my mask off? Because it's hard for me to read this with the glasses and talk. So is everyone okay with that? Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, just for the record, this is a continuation of our February 10th meeting. It was recessed until February 17th. At the February 17th meeting, it was just an executive session on some personnel issues we talked about. There was nothing voted on at that point in time. We do have one item that I would like us to vote on and deal with that we talked about previously before I adjourned, which would have been the February 10th meeting. And that would be under discussion items, the emergency demolition of 512 Washington Avenue. We originally had that on there to do on the 17th, but we're not able to. Steve, you have to give me the bid?
I do have the bid.
Okay.
I actually just opened it in anticipation to go through this. We had one responsive bid, Mr. President.
Okay.
More than excavation of Bell Vernon. This bid is dated February 16, 2021. It's an estimate. It provides for the emergency demolition of 512 Washington Avenue. Demolished house structure, all wood and debris to be hauled to landfill, concrete block brick to remain as fill for foundation. Bring in clean fill and grade area, seed and mulch. Sanitary sewer to be plugged and capped. Utilities to be terminated by owner. Large tree of rear property to remain, only trim branches and clear way for equipment. No asbestos remediation or abatement. Demolition permit responsibility of the applicant. Bid price $13,999.
You mentioned, what was done by the owner again? You mentioned the owner.
Demolition permit is responsibility of property owner.
Okay.
And utility shut off as well.
So since there is no owner because of the situation, that would be us?
I'm assuming, at least for the permit,
Okay. Okay.
so the utilities will probably still have to disconnect.
Okay.
So the bid, again, the bid amount was $13,999.
Okay, so we have a bid. Is there a motion for that bid, please?
What was it? 13,999.
A penny less than 14.
There's a motion. I heard someone, Janine made the motion. Does anyone second that?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on that?
When do they start?
You're just waiting for us. There was a time frame he had to start after it was approved, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I think it was initially 45 days, 30, 45 days. I don't.
I can't remember. I thought it was 30, but I could be
That's
mistaken.
what I was thinking. It would have been most likely 30.
It's not 45, it's around.
Yeah, I'm sure we can contact him tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll get started on it soon. He's very good about doing stuff. And let's face it, he's going to want to get it now before he gets busy, because he's busy throughout the summer. Okay, if there's no other discussion, then we can have a roll call, please.
Jody Chapman?
Yes.
Nancy Ellis?
Yes.
Jerry Jericho?
Yes.
Janine Matiki?
Yes.
Frank Vaccaro?
Yes.
Mark Alderese?
Yes. Okay, that being done, I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting that was recessed on both February 10th and February 17th.
Motion.
Second.
Motion second. Roll call.
Jody Chapman?
Yes.
Nancy Ellis?
Yes.
Jerry Jericho?
Yes.
Janine Matiki?
Yes.
Frank Vaccaro?
Yes.
Mark Alderese?
Yes. Okay, so that'll close out that meeting. We can move forward to the agenda. What I'd like to do, if it's okay with everybody, Tara O'Toole is here from Cintas. She's under public discussion. I'd like to go ahead and let her do her presentation first so she can get on her way and we'll get on to the rest of our stuff if everyone's okay with that. Tara, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you everyone. I appreciate a few minutes of your time. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna put this down so I can talk.
Yeah.
But my real purpose in coming today was just kind of to introduce myself to all of you and introduce you guys to Cintas. My division of the corporation is the First Aid and Safety Division, and there's 6 main areas that we help local governments, including the Charleroi Authority down the street with. First being first aid supplies. So we can do that in the form of first aid cabinets, mobile trauma bags, and mobile car, truck, and fleet kits. A second one would be automatic external defibrillators. I've been talking with Matt from the fire department, and that's something they're looking at trying to implement, at least for them, and maybe might be of interest for you guys as well. That is primarily what I printed out for all of you to refer to, because I know there's so many things we do. I just wanted to get at least one piece of it in front of you that might be a first priority. Sorry. Oh, you're good. The one thing I would say about AEDs is, you know, instead of having to wait for whoever to show up to a site, whether you're waiting for them up the staircase, coming out
I'm
these.
interrupt you for 1 second.
Uh-huh.
Let me verify the microphone's on. Could you come a little closer to Nina over here so people?
Oh, sure.
Because we have residents on the computer and they probably can't hear you for a while.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that.
You know, I didn't realize it wasn't on.
You're good. Right here, son?
Yes, fine.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, so sudden cardiac arrest incidents have actually increased 54% since the beginning of COVID-19. So sudden cardiac arrest was already a growing issue, I would say, in the past decade that people have been more aware of at local governments and municipalities. But with the onset of COVID, it's becoming even more and more of an issue with people having blood clots and just the heart going into murmurs and stopping altogether. Sudden cardiac, oh, thank you. It's okay. It doesn't, I don't know if it's really doing anything, but,
Just want to make sure, because we do have several residents on.
Oh,
So
okay.
we want to afford them the opportunity to be able to hear what's going on.
All right.
Go ahead.
Hello? I don't know if it sounds any different, but,
That might include my still there.
hello? Okay. All right, yeah, so sudden cardiac arrest, it does not discriminate against age, or gender, or race, or anything like that. It's not just for elderly. A lot of times, kids are born with predispositions, like epilepsy, where it's very common for them to go into a sudden cardiac arrest episode. But like I was saying, with the onset of COVID-19, it's increased 54%. So it's becoming an even more hot topic issue to have these all over different municipality buildings, schools, etc. So this information right here is just some on what our agreement looks like for these at Cintas. We will help maintain the unit, so rather than just selling it to you and then whenever pads and batteries expire, like you guys having to figure out where to buy them again or how to change it yourself. We provide all the troubleshooting monthly. We make it a point to come out to any place we have an AED on site, and we will always do that monthly check, no matter what. So you know it's always 100% good to go. And anything that needs replaced as the years go on, such as pads, batteries, any software updates, that's all part of the monthly cost of $79.95. So rather than buying a unit that's a couple grand up front, the hope is to actually save municipalities and governments money over time with the program. And you just have the peace and ease of mind of knowing you have a professional who's local to this area who's checking it out monthly, so you know it's already always good to go. A lot of times in different schools, government buildings, and manufacturing buildings, people will buy these and they won't keep up with them, and then a year goes by or so and something needed to be updated and they didn't know it because nobody was actually designated to checking them. So that's kind of where we come in, and we're firm believers in doing that monthly for you. So that's the main thing I thought might be of most interest to you guys right now. But again, we're more than just AEDs. We do first aid supplies. We do water systems that are plumbed in units to buildings to help with hydration programs, and we come out and clean and service those. We also do training classes, so if anybody in any municipality department wanted to get CPR first aid trained, we can do that as well. We do eye wash station servicing, so I was actually talking with TJ down at the maintenance department. That might be something that would be good for them to have in that garage, and other buildings as well. We're also a PPE vendor, so we can do all sorts of industrial PPE, anything from hard hats all the way down to steel-toed boots. But we're doing COVID PPE right now as well. So if any department of the municipality ever needed, you know, disposable masks, sanitizer, N95s, nitrile gloves, thermometers, anything you can think of, we have it all in our virtual warehouse, so we could get it to you the next day. So just my real purpose in coming here was to introduce myself, see if any of this would ever be a need for any of you, whether it's in the future, or if you have some safety needs you've actually been looking into more recently, that maybe we could be a resource to consulting at least.
Yeah, personally, I like the sounds. I think it's something maybe we get together with the fire departments
Okay.
and assess what I think the best needs would be. You said $79.95 a month, right?
For the AED, yeah.
Okay, the only other question I have, does that cover, if for some reason something was physically damaged? So that's covered and we wouldn't be responsible for paying for it, say someone broke into a building and damaged something. Would that be covered under a policy like that?
Yeah, it should be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it comes with, I didn't want to get into all the minutia of it, but it comes with a prep and response kit, so it's going to have the CPR face shield in the kit, scissors to open up someone's shirt, to put the pads on, all of that stuff. And you can either have a mobile carrying case for it that we can wall mount for you wherever you want it placed, or we can do an alarmed cabinet system, which is on the front of that page. So definitely different options for placement and wherever you think you'd be comfortable with having something like that.
And whatever option would go as far as mounting, that would be included in that same price?
Yes, yep. And the medical prescription for getting the medical device is included with all this. So literally $79.95 is all we'll ever have to worry about. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for us on top of that? Thank you. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Okay. We want to talk about that at all while it's fresh, or we want to wait until on that later?
Well, we gotta talk to the guys first.
Right. Okay.
If anybody ever has questions, feel free to either call me, that's my cell phone, or email me. I'm open to whatever. So,
Okay.
thank you guys.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay. Let's just do the correspondence real quick first. Tri-County reminder is on the 18th. All the reports you have. Okay, go into discussion items. Cleanup day, April 30th, 2021, from 8 to 3. And that is what day, is that a Friday?
Yes,
Okay.
they're not Friday.
We'll,
Now, the school wants to send the students down there, and that's why I wanted to make sure we were still having them, because I have to call her and let her know.
thoughts? I think something's still a good project. Everyone's still comfortable with that? Okay.
Who do we have being in charge of it?
Well, the school will send people down.
But we usually have people that take them around and show them where all the cleaning
They
needs
have
done.
teachers to come with them, and
They
the burners,
supply the brooms and all that, because I know that one time we supplied brooms, bags, all that.
no, the school doesn't. The school just brings the kids, and they send teachers, chaperones with them, and they come to the market house, and we're going to give them their project to do, and the teacher will take the group out this way or that way, whatever.
Okay. Okay, so we'll leave it on the agenda. Okay, the emergency demolition, obviously, we just opened that bid for that. Need to advertise for the emergency demo of 725 Washington. I'm sure we better make that motion. Jody's probably the first to make the motion, probably
Yes.
second.
Before we
I make one motion.
do that, Mr. President, I thought maybe we could discuss the GS Light building together with another advertisement for 725.
I agree.
After our conversation on Friday, I'm going to update the council, but we had talked about the issues related to that building, potentially do an emergency demo. I reached out to Terry Petrosky, the borough's manager, administrator in Denora. As council knows, Denora's street crew is certified, assured, and able to conduct emergency demolitions of residential and commercial structures. She was going to talk to the street department to see if they can provide assistance to us and perhaps get the conversation going about entering into some type of cooperation agreement with the two municipalities. We've floated the idea in the past. This seems to be a good opportunity to do that again. So perhaps before we advertise for bids, perhaps we should explore that option this week to see if that's potential, rather than expend borough funds for another demolition, we're able to work out some type of cooperation agreement with the owner. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm waiting to hear back from Terry. I know we have a council meeting tomorrow night, so perhaps I can get council's direction there as well on what they may be doing.
Yeah, I didn't want to advertise it for, put the advertisement up tonight. I thought we'd vote on it next week.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking for a vote.
No,
on it.
I wasn't asking for-
I thought I heard you say you asked for.
No, I just said whenever we come for a vote, Jody will be the first one to jump down.
Okay, so we have between now and next week, to try to see if it works.
Yeah, because I know you and I talked, and I know they hadn't gotten back to you yet.
Correct, they were gonna
So-
see, what they thought would be a good way to approach that. So,
So, everyone good with that?
Mark mentioned the old bookstore. Mark mentioned the old bookstore. I
Right.
said that piece of equipment they got, it's too big to get in the alley. That's a big piece of
sure.
equipment they got, it's too wide.
I don't know how that would maybe be a more sophisticated
Yeah.
demolition than
Yeah, that would, yeah.
what they're able to do. Mark and I actually looked at it the other night, and it looks like, there's, I don't know if it's structural elements or just decorative elements that are attached to the neighboring buildings. So,
Yeah,
that facade may not be able to be taken down.
No, to keep the facade, they would still have to be anchored somewhere. That's even Mac, when they looked at it, it's just, and then Chris, when he was here, said the same thing. It's, unless there's a way to anchor it. Their big concerns, everyone saw in the information, was their concern was the bricks from the chimney right now.
Right.
But, I mean, you look at it from the front, you'd never know there was a problem. You know, it's a lipstick on a pig, I guess. You know, it looks great from the front, but other than that, you wouldn't know. So, I mean, it's, thankful that, we got the call from Doc, make it go over and take a look at it. You just catch it?
No, I didn't.
I was thinking about it, I think, really, did you just say that?
Okay, next is we got a letter of support for the American Legion for the Mitchell Page Memorial. I touched base very briefly on that last month. It's still up in the air on what date it's going to be. The original date was going to be for Memorial Day. We had a meeting with the Legion Riders last Saturday. The problem right now is the stone permit is coming from Georgia. They're not sure. They were supposed to find out, and they were supposed to find out Monday, and they went back to them if the stone can be here in time for Memorial Day. If it's not available for Memorial Day, the next option we talked about was maybe tying it into July 3rd and making that part of our community days, doing it maybe later in the evening. The other problem, the concern they have with doing Memorial Day was there's only a handful of Legion Riders that are available. They like to do something after it's over with. They'll be spreading themselves thin a little bit, was their concern was. So they're asking us to support the project. It's going to be down at the memorial as you cross 5th Street. It's going to be in addition to that memorial down there. One of the fundraisers, Legion Riders have really stepped up to help with this. They're actually doing their hoagie sale right now, and a portion of their hoagie sale, they plan on giving to this also. The memorial, I believe, was in a $7,000 range, I believe, it was $7,000, $7,500 for the cost of this thing. So they've been actually soliciting. A lot of businesses have already gotten letters, residents have gotten letters. They've actually gotten a pretty fair response of money already as of last Saturday. I mean, they just sent the letters out. I think they'd already gotten about $1,500 back in the first couple of days. So it's something that's long overdue. If you're not familiar with Mitchell Page's story, I strongly recommend reading it. Very decorated, and every time I read it, I get more and more amazed by it. So please take the time to read that. Okay, the local match for the Mid-Marlboro Transit Authority. We already have that. We should already have that in the budget. Is that correct? Okay. That's something we just do every year. Yeah, it went up a little bit, not much, though, did it?
Wasn't it 6,800 last year, Roberta?
I don't remember the total offhand.
It was small. Ed, do you remember what?
It went up 1% or 1.5% or something.
Okay. The next thing we have on there is a contract extension for the bus shelter agreement. The only question I have on that, Ed, we talked about them moving the one at Fifth Street.
We
Where's that?
have the three on
For
here. Yeah,
moving?
they're in,
I didn't see them moving the one at Fifth
No,
Street.
them are, the three that's on there are the present ones.
That's the present one. That's, but we talked about moving the Fifth Street one.
it's not Fifth Street, right there.
Yeah, Fifth Street, we talked about moving because we were talking about making that a loading zone. If you remember at one point when it was proposed to possibly sell the lot, we kind of held off on that, but we talked about them moving the one at Fifth Street, about a block. We have the one across from the library, the one at Fifth Street, and the one at, by, Denise's place.
The one that is across from the Shard House, across from the library, and the Dollar General.
Right.
Okay.
They were gonna have Fifth Street listed. because
Right, and I'm
that's
saying
the
we
one
might talk
they're
about that at the
moving-
same time, because,
That's the one we're moving down to Shard House.
well, that's what I'm asking. We haven't heard for sure where they're moving yet. That's what I'm asking yet. So what's the plans on that?
These are the ones that are owned by the
I understand that.
Transit Authority Company.
I understand that, I understand
The
that.
one at Fifth Street is owned by the borough.
And the talk was about if they were considering moving that to another location, is my question. That's my question. I understand, we have two separate questions here. My question is there been any further discussion on that being moved?
No.
Okay. Could you follow up on that with them? Because, I mean, we still would like to make that a loading zone, but I understand we're talking two different ones. But I think if we're talking about these other shelters, we should be talking about that at the same time. So we're all, we're on the same page with whatever they're doing. Okay? So, you could, when, your next meeting is not before a meeting next week, is it? When's your next meeting?
The fourth Thursdays.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and approve those, but I want to make sure the other one doesn't get lost in the shuffle, is what I was trying to bring up, because that's been a few months since we talked about it, and here we haven't heard anything since then.
We were supposed to find out who actually owns that piece of property where we requested it to be moved to.
So, and what place, where do we want to decide we want to move it? Down, we talked
How
about
about post office park?
Next to the church parking lot.
right. But do we want to go all the way down to the church?
No, I thought we said post office parking lot, just before their parking lot. Put it right
Well,
there.
people already stand at 7th and McCain in front of the old Masonic Bar and wait for the bus now.
Okay. So you're suggesting that may be a better spot?
It's a little more open and less traffic with the parking
Well,
lot.
the only thing is, you can't, there's nowhere to put a shelter there. We can at least go to the post office and ask them, can we put a shelter in the grass area?
Right between the church and the post office, is that what you mean?
Well, there, or right there at the end, before you get to the,
How are you gonna put it before? There's a street there.
the alleys, or their driveways here. You're talking the gravel's over here. The church probably owns the gravel lot. I'm saying over here on the right side, in their grass,
On the 6th Street side.
No, in the same area.
On the 7th Street side.
The parking lot for the the employees' parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, the employees' parking lot. Putting it right on the right-hand side of their parking lot before they turn in.
Aren't there parking spots there now?
Yeah. Like there's a lot of cars in that area.
Oh.
The whole other side's always open. That's probably one of the easier places. There's no homes or no business there. That's probably one of the better places to put it.
I'm good with it.
Better than where it's at now.
But the first question was, we want to make sure they were agreeable to moving it, and we haven't gotten confirmation on that yet before we go any further. So that's what we really need to know.
I say we don't need to put it in a corner where the traffic light's at, especially the busiest intersection in town. That's why I say you move it down by the employees' parking lot and put it right before the employees' parking lot. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to move. Where are you gonna move it to? That whole block, there's nowhere to put to move the shelter to. We talked about moving it up here, but then it's, what's that?
What about the block prior where the empty lot is?
Well, we can talk about that, but I think the main one right now is to get this, because you have, for example, maybe the river house here, especially now, people just can't pick up, you have the bank right there, with people trying to get in and out. So it's just a matter of making it more convenient for them as a business.
Is the one
For short term.
in front of Denise in here?
No. No, we're not even talking about that right now. Okay. Okay. But like I said, we want to, first, at the very least, get that one taken care of. Okay, the Southwest Training Services, for the employees on that, that's something we do every year. Any issues on that at all? Okay. We have two different paid accessible parking. One is 705 Meadow, and one is 734 4th Street. And everything looked good. The only thing I didn't get a chance to look at yet is TJ looked at either of those yet, Roberta?
Yeah, there's already a spot at 705. They want it moved up to 706.
Okay.
And it'll be a paid stall.
Okay.
And the other one is fine also.
There's two,
And it's also a
there's
paid
two
stall.
already on that block.
On which
They're
one?
not paid stalls.
The two on
On which one?
Meadow Avenue.
Werner Hopkins is requesting.
Well, but he died. So that one spot is for the gentleman that died on 8th Street.
Latava, but his kid still lives in that house and he's handicapped.
But he doesn't drive.
His family drives him though.
Same thing I objected to up there, I objected to
You
it.
mean the son that lives there?
He does drive.
He doesn't drive.
He does drive. It's his car, if you remember, 2 winters ago, our snowplow hit his truck.
No, that wasn't his.
I'm talking about the one that
That
was
was,
in the
that was
accident.
different Paul's.
You're right.
Oh, that's what I thought you were
He
talking
has
about.
two sons.
They got it.
Yeah.
They died. I don't
He was
remember.
running around down there
It's
that
actually,
night.
Oh, yeah.
his side.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, he seemed to.
So you said the one at 706, the 706 is a public one right now?
705 is a public one.
No, the one is 705. I think she's 707.
705 Meadow
Okay,
is a public one.
okay.
That is the one that Mr. and Mrs. Hopkins would like to pay for.
Okay. So who's using that one right now? I know it's public, but is there an addition, is that the one you're talking about that's Thomas been using?
That's the one he used until he passed away.
And then who's the other?
Paul Phillips.
I believe Phillips pays for theirs, Roberta.
Pardon?
I believe that Phillips pays for theirs. Is it a paid spot?
No.
No, I don't believe so.
No.
No.
And we would have one paid and one not.
Okay. 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 Everything with that? Okay, fine, move on to, Alberta McGuffey's letter for the safety issue. Nance, one thing I'm a little, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, we discussed it already. I mean, some of this can be done and some of it can't be done.
I mean, the question, if everyone got a chance to read her letter, she talked about the borough putting in the Jersey barriers for us. First of all, TJ was not in favor of doing Jersey barriers. And originally we were talked to about it. All they wanted us to do was take out the existing poles, correct? And they were handling everything else. They wanted us to take out the existing and take them away, which is no problem. I'm not sure at what point it changed when they wanted us to put the barriers in. I think that opens up to a liability for us if we do that, where they're going to be. I don't think that's a good idea, first of all. And second of all, even if we were putting it in, we should have input on what's going in. And TJ made it very clear that he was not comfortable putting the Jersey barrier there. The Jersey barrier, this is from moment one, he said he wasn't comfortable with that being a Jersey barrier.
No, because the first one knocked it right over.
Correct. So,
They've been the Jersey barriers would be better, that's where that's coming from. They were under the impression at the beginning that the company would be putting the Jersey barriers together. Then I'm assuming that the company is not going to be doing that, and that is why they are, because in the first letter, it did not say anything about our guys putting the Jersey barriers together.
Excuse me, the person at 7606, if you could please mute yourself.
That's Paul.
Oh, is that Paul? I'm sorry, Paul. Never mind. Didn't see your name on it. I apologize. It just kept coming up. I didn't realize that was you. No, it keeps coming up here a little bit, and I wasn't sure it was a resident. I didn't realize that was your number. I'm sorry.
So apparently, the company has informed them that they are not putting them together, so now they're requesting that the borough do it, but again, as you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you 100%, number one, our street crew does not feel that the Jersey barrier is the safest thing for that area, and secondly, it would be a liability to our street crew and the borough.
Steve, are you in agreement with what we're saying there?
110%.
Okay.
Do you want me to go back?
So how do we handle this? This is not really a voting item. I mean, how do we handle this at this point?
I think you need definitive from the street crew on what they feel would be
Yes, Paul.
appropriate.
But is it even our responsibility?
It's not.
No, we're just,
They're just making the request.
originally, our street crew was just to take down 4 of the poles and take them away, which, as Mark said, that wouldn't be a problem, and they would recycle the poles.
But I think Paul's question is, are the poles on our property or their property? I'm trying to remember.
They're
Is that what your question is, Paul?
No.
Okay.
We're not responsible.
His question was, what's our insurance carrier position? But
Yeah.
it's not a borough issue.
And that's why I asked the property was on there.
Tell him.
Their remarks,
I'm having a real hard time
We
understanding.
wanted to know if our engineers thought that was a safe course to remove the poles and place the barriers.
I don't know that answer. But but it gets back to my question is, whose property are they on and whose responsibility are they?
It's in between the grassy area, that little strip of grass by the sidewalk.
Right.
between the sidewalk and the street.
Okay.
So the poles would be our responsibility, but nothing moving forward from that would be.
Well, not necessarily, because their property could go all the way to the street.
They actually own from the curb in.
Right, so
It's all
Well,
their
that's the
property.
case, then
that's
it's
what I'm
not.
saying. But if it's that grassy area, and that grassy area is actually still part of their property, because they're responsible out to the street, to the curb line.
Then we have no responsibility.
Correct. So that wouldn't affect anything our insurance company. Am I correct there, Steve?
Yeah, I think he was asking a broader question, is it, are we undertaking responsibility or liability by doing all those things?
Well, if we would
Whether
put,
we control or not.
but if we put the new ones in, we definitely would be responsible.
That's right, I don't have.
Absolutely.
Well, then we shouldn't be doing anything with it. Because we're actually going to take responsibility for that.
Didn't we put those
Steve,
poles
would that
in
be
the
the
first
correct
place?
statement?
Did the
As I look at this letter a second time, basically what they're asking us to do both of those things. First, they make it sound like we just need to remove the poles to accommodate the barrier, but they also want us to place the Jersey barriers there as well.
Well, none of it's our responsibility.
None of it's our responsibility.
The removal or the replacement.
Well, the question is, who put the original poles in?
The borough did. Those,
So if the borough originally put the original poles in, and they would not want the poles anymore, they'd rather have the Jersey barriers, then wouldn't that be okay for us to take them out? Because we originally, if they put the poles in originally, I get it. But they didn't put the poles in, the borough did. So if they don't want poles there anymore, they prefer to have Jersey barriers, that's fine. We take our poles out, and they're responsible for putting whatever in. Does that make sense to everybody?
Didn't the letter say that the company from Greensburg would deliver it, that they want?
That's their request. But we don't
that's
have
their
one.
request. I'm telling you that has changed from the original letter.
Yeah.
I feel better about us removing poles that we placed than I do about us removing poles that then place barriers.
So we would remove them, and it would be their responsibility to put whatever.
Correct, they could make arrangements to receive the barriers, purchase the barriers. They could get contracts.
I think if we are removing the poles, we should probably have something in writing, giving them a time frame they have to replace it. Bobby, I see you raising your arm back there.
Yeah, you better check with the engineer. Remember when we had the tree problem up there on the bar? And the engineer, the bar engineer said, you got a 15-foot right of way and 10 feet on either side could be the borough property. And that's why the borough got that tree. So you better check with the engineer and make sure that even though that 10 foot's going into their property line, the borough could be responsible for 10 feet from the curb in. So you need to probably call Mac and ask to get a ruling on where, that the ruling on the street, and make a, that they can figure it out on the map if that 10 feet or whatever that they're, right away on either side. Because I think when you got at least 20 to 25 foot, and I'm not ready to say 25 foot, well, the road's 15, it's still true on each side.
It is
Could be
true.
borough property.
I'll call them.
You need to call Mac and get a ruling on, is this borough property or not, then you guys can do what you want to do.
Okay, I'll call Doug tomorrow morning.
I agree with him.
Okay.
Now, I just want to say one thing, those poles, the silver poles, were placed by the borough in various areas, like when you're coming down 10th Street also. On 10th and Fallowfield, it would be, there's a line up from there. So,
Okay. Well, I'll get a confirmation on it from Doug first. But again, Steve, this is not a thing we really vote on. This is just a decision made and never follow up on. So, okay. But they do have one here that the one-way sign was hit, and the no left turn sign, I guess, is gone. So we probably, and that's why I'm reading this letter. So maybe
I'm not sure, I know,
you want to have TJ check on that?
yeah.
Okay. I mean, we know that's definitely, we have to take
It
care of
was
it.
laying in the yard, so where it's gone,
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll have TJ take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay, the auditor for the municipal audit for 2020. Guess we have to name one. So we'll have to advertise that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We can't just reappoint the one we had.
If you intend to, unless you intend to.
We had a heck of a time finding one.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fine. Want to put on
We
there?
don't have any
If they send a letter of interest, they're interested in still doing
I
it?
haven't received anything, but, they did the last two.
Okay. Is it proper for us to reach out to them to make sure they're still
It is.
interested?
I think we actually put it out for bid, was it 2 years ago? They were the only response.
We switched, yeah, we wanted to switch.
So
We had a heck of a time finding one.
let's send out a letter to them asking them if they're interested, get back to us. They get back to us before the next week's meeting, we can go ahead and vote on it.
Okay.
If everyone's okay with that. And they did, it was hard to get an auditor. Okay, thank you.
This what, term,
Can you,
term?
what did you say?
I'll email Mark.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else for the agenda?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Couple things. I talked to Bobby about doing the Easter money drive through town. He said that was okay, right, Bob?
You and Paul are coordinating on all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And drone, at the light building. I said to Bobby, I said, I wonder if it, I'm not sure what type of expense it is, but I wonder if it's maybe possibly something that we should look into having our own.
It's not as much the drone, but knowing how to operate it right.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's not as simple as that. I mean, it's, first of all, the drones aren't, a good drone like that are not cheap.
Couple grand.
Yeah, and then knowing how to operate it.
The police have one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Bobby, thank you for getting the school down there, first of all.
I got the thumb drive in there of everything, so we can get on a few months before maybe we'll look at it. See if I get the thumb drive. The school wants the thumb drive back, and maybe we can figure out how to download one of those borrow thumb drive or whatever.
Not only did they do the Mike Sport building when they were here, they also did the Menlo. How many? What other buildings did they do, Bob? The Menlo.
The Menlo, we did all the ones with the empty lot, and our man, the towards the parking lot.
Right.
And we're all shot there too.
So yeah, I mean it's. So yeah, we should send a school thank you.
Yeah, that's nice. And thank you, Mr. Eric.
Yeah. You want to you drop that tomorrow, Roberto, I'll come sign. Yeah, that was great of them to come down and. What do you say that thing can go, Bob? 150 yards?
It'll go 1,500 feet high, and it'll go, how can you get far? Yeah, it'll go.
It was at least 100 yards.
My neighbor had a $1,200 one, and you know where I live. He was over at Marsh Tire. I'm standing there watching him. He's over the top of Marsh Tire. We're looking at the parking lot. And that was just $1,200.
He didn't lose his like you did, Mingo?
I was gonna say, that's what I thought he was gonna say. I have a neighbor, I borrowed his,
Jerry's hoping I forgot about that.
I have two more things.
Pam had to go help him find this.
Roberta needs help in that office, and Sammy is not a secretary.
This is the personnel.
Yes, it is, it shouldn't be.
Okay, good.
Okay.
You want to, when we're done with an executive session
Okay.
about that, that's fine.
Okay, and the other thing was, Paul had contacted me, about the possibility of doing Student Government Day, and asked me if I could check into, you know, whether the school would be willing to come and everything, so I did a lot of footwork. I spoke to Mrs. Mason at the school, and Mr. Broads. They are both willing to come, as long as it's on a very scaled down version, and it's regular protocol, protocol is followed. I spoke with the Legion. The auxiliary president said that they're happy to help out, and that they only allow 50 people in the hall upstairs. And honestly, whenever I sat down and wrote down a list of just the people that are needed there, mayor, council, employees, street crew, police department, fire department, so on, that's 21 people there.
Okay.
Add times 2, when you add in the number of students to go along with all that, is 42. Then Eric Porter, the school teacher, and the Legion said that they would keep it to 4 or 5. You're up to like 48 right there.
Okay,
So,
what dates are we looking at?
the dates that they sent me in order of preference was April 21st, but Roberta's not going to be here that day. April 14th and April 7th. She suggested going with the 14th.
Anyone have any thoughts on that?
If you want to have a few more people, not worry about it, have it at the market.
No, we don't want more people. The school does not want
Well,
more.
I'm just saying, you can
But-
be outside and wide.
What she's saying is the school wants to limit it.
Yeah, but do you have any guest
You have to have
speakers?
guest speakers, it's not just the kids of the council.
Well, I mean, if we're at 47, a guest speaker is 48. So, I mean, the school did say if it gets crazy out of hand, they'll pull the kids they will not come.
How
So
many?
they just want,
So that if we're going to do it, we need to know, because we're never sure, for example, who's coming from the fire department, police. So we're going to actually have to have RSVPs so we can know
Right.
exactly.
like, I put down the mayor, all of council, borough secretary, code enforcement, the 4th Street crew guys. I put 3 people from the police department, 3 people from the fire department.
Don't forget Sammy.
Oh, yeah, Sammy. Magistrate, Legion, and the teacher.
I'll cut down on a policeman, cut down on, I mean, since like, 2 firemen, 2 policemen, the chief and somebody else, the magistrate, all of us council people. Yeah, I don't go because I can't, I'm not taking a day off. I don't know who else won't be able to make it, but I'm sure everybody won't be able to make it.
I think to make sure we have our number right, we should have an RSVP count a week before so we know the exact number. That way there's no confusion that way. Paul, does that sound good to you?
There you go.
Paul, does that sound good to you? I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
Frank nodded his head, you're saying yes to that.
Yeah, we did under 50 people
It's
before.
like on Mars.
Yeah. Okay.
He said we've done over 50.
Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on that date. Let's put that on the agenda. Roberta, put that date on the agenda, we'll vote on it, please. Okay.
So what's the date?
April 14th, it will be our council meeting day.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yes. Everyone okay with that date?
No.
Is the majority okay with that date?
Wait a minute. No, I'm gonna shut up. 'Cause I'm gonna get.
What was the other day? So you're on Wednesdays,
The 7th,
7th, is that better?
you want the 21st?
You can't be here the 21st.
Right.
Is that what you said?
Well, we need to have her there because they're gonna be in the office, someone's gonna be in the office with her. Can't have her. So how are you on the 7th?
I'll be on vacation.
Okay, so we need another day for her.
The end of the month is good for me, not the beginning.
Okay, okay, put the 14th down. Yes, Paul?
Check with Eric to see if he's gonna be away.
Okay.
And you have to find a speaker that's available to come that day.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Any other agenda? I got one, I'm gonna wait till you guys are done.
Okay, Mark,
Yes, Paul?
we should check with Eric to make sure he's gonna be available either one of those days.
Okay.
I don't know what the management schedule's like.
Okay, we'll check with him on it. Yeah, is that-
If Eric's not available, we could probably use Sue's copy, Larry, if he's available.
we'll see if Eric's available for us to
Yeah.
check. Okay, yeah, it's a good idea, Paul. We'll check with that tomorrow. Okay. What other agenda items does anyone have? Janine, you have one you're ready for, I can tell that.
No.
Oh.
No,
Okay.
nothing, no.
Okay, I had a request given to me this week, and it's actually a different idea.
It's a great idea.
No, it is a great idea.
It is.
I had a request for my son, actually, that he'd like to see, would we consider finding an area in town of one of our vacant properties to do a community garden?
I think that's
Michelle always wanted to do that.
Yeah, I was kind of he approached me out of nowhere.
I got a perfect place for it.
The Mike's Bookstore building.
No, right across from your house in that park. He can watch it, he can water it.
That's
That's not our property anyway.
Well, they would let us do it, I'm sure.
There's so many people over there.
yeah, that's actually used as an open space right
But
now.
I'd say if you
I would rather us find a location that we have a vacant lot that our guys are stuck cutting grass on. Then instead of having to cut grass, now we turn it into a community garden. Now, we've saved our guys work, and we're making good use of a vacant property.
Who's gonna watch
Right
it?
down here would be a wonderful market.
No, I'm saying who's gonna watch it? If you put it where I just said, that you'll have eyeballs on it. If you put it on some vacant lot somewhere, it's gonna get smashed, the kids are gonna destroy it.
The Columbus Hotel lot.
That's actually a great, that's actually a great idea.
Which one?
That's a fantastic idea.
Third Street.
It's right in the middle of every,
It's all
By the
brick.
Legion?
It's all brick.
no, it's not. There's
No,
one,
it isn't.
no, it's
What
not.
grass?
It was filled, it got dirt over it, but underneath it was backfilled. It's half the building, most of the building is underneath it.
Yeah, I think Jerry's right. grade?
Well, we can look at it.
See it for,
It's all brick. You might have about that much topsoil.
Okay, well, everyone take a look around. Does everyone like the idea of it first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's look and see if we can come up with some ideas on our property. Bob, even if you think of anything of any of the vacant lots, you're running around, if you let me know. But if we can see if we can find a spot, I just think it's great that, you know, and I'm not just saying it's my son, but he did this unsolicited, and I'm glad to see somebody younger want to get involved. But I don't want to discourage that. You know, not in any way. But if anyone come up with an idea on location, we can go from there. Okay?
One other thing, me and Mom, she both got calls, might want to think of what you want to sell that property down there on across from the bowling alley. We got a guy calling, wondering about the utilities. He told me he's thinking of putting some townhouses in down there.
What property, Bob?
Property, across from the bowling alley, between like Phoenix and the bowling alley.
There's
And
three
he
lots.
the street group that
I thought we already sold that a couple years ago.
No.
Barstool. The guy called today, wanted to had some questions, he called, Word, and asked some questions, so he said his plan is to try to put like two duplexes in there, or like a set of townhouses, which would be nice on the end of town, and dress it up a little bit. So just keep your options open, what you want for property, and, you know.
Well, speaking of property, didn't we pay for an appraisal at the parking lot?
No.
No.
I thought that was approved and,
No, we voted on, we never did anything after that.
imagine that.
Well, it was kind of, I think the interest in buying it kind of faded away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no more interest in buying.
Fifth Street, Majesty Square. And I think we decided we weren't sure if there was some mixed response we wanted to.
Probably wasn't voted for it anyway, but
So you didn't do that?
I just wonder what happened, yeah.
You're miserable, huh?
No, I said before, we need a parking lot there, I'm sorry.
I know. I think does anyone have anything else? Yeah, we have a quick executive session. Be executive session on a personnel issue.